Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kodash Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kodash Shalom to the hopeful elect out there. Um, Back at you with another lesson, and I'm going to entitle this lesson, "The Gentiles in Romans chapter 11 are Israelites." The Gentiles in Romans chapter 11 are Israelites. And I'm doing this based upon, I came across, was it? Bear me for a minute here. Okay, this is Cross the Line Radio Car Chronicles with Captain Tazariak, episode 301. And right about here, 10 minutes in of an almost 60-minute video, an individual asks about the Gentiles in Romans chapter 11. With Adam, it was a Gita. Captain, can you tell me if Saul meaning Paul, was saying Gentiles have been brought salvation in Romans 11, verses 11 to 21. And now, mind you, that I was watching part of, they did a live, Cross the Line radio show. So I was watching. I watch IUIC. I watch all these different, these different other groups, and the Captain Zariak was getting down. He was breaking it down the right way, because I've got to say this: I didn't know he knew it like that, because back at One West, the breakdown was, the understanding was in Genesis chapter 11, the branches, the wild olive branches, grafted in what was taught by the high priest Ariah and the rest of them. But high priest Ariah went into it quite a bit. He said those are Gentiles, but they're going to be grafted back out. So, he's a teacher. So you go, okay, all right, that's what it means. But he says ultimately they're going to be grafted back out. So I'm figuring that they're going to pretty much teach it that way. But then that's an opening for the Christians. So then we have to say, well, the Gentiles can make it. The Gentiles, when it pertains to salvation, as far as the Gentiles are concerned in the New Testament, when it says blessings to the Gentiles, salvation to the Gentiles or the heathen or the Greeks, the Jews first, and also the Greeks in Galatians 3, verse 28. That's a precept that, or scripture verse that Vocab Malone pulls up to say that those are talking about the Gentiles. He also Vocab did a video where he focuses on the leader of the Straightway Ministries, Straightway Church, whatever you want to call it, Charles Dowell, Pastor Dowell. And Pastor Dowell says the same thing. He mentions Timothy's father being a Greek. See, these guys don't go deep into the scriptures. If you look at the scriptures like a scholar would, you would understand that those Greeks in the New Testament are all Israelites. Now, there may be one or two verses in the scriptures that when it says Greek, is talking about other nations outside of Israel. And I believe, and I'm not going to go to it, but it's St. John 7:35. It'll say the Gentiles twice, but in I believe it's the NLT, it'll say the Greeks. Matter of fact, let me go to that. Let me find another tab here. Let me slide this here. St. John 7:35. Okay. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he, the Lord, go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed? The dispersed are Israelites among the Gentiles. These are the actual other nations, and teach the Gentiles. Now it seems like, well, both times it's talking about actual Gentiles. No. So would he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles? And then he go and teach the Gentiles? That doesn't make sense. So right here, this term Gentile is referring to the Israelites being the Gentile state of mind. Let's look up the word disperse. Let's look up the word disperse. Click on it. And I'll go to the commentary, see what they say. Okay, said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go? Shall not see him no more. Will he go unto the dispersed diaspora? A scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Blue Letter. Of the Christians, which is another word for Israelites that believed in the Messiah. What they were being called was Mashiahites or Mashiachim, which means followers of the Messiah. But in English, which this is a Greek or a Latin word, Christians just mean follower of the Messiah. Israelites that followed the Messiah. Of the Christians scattered abroad, of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles. So they broke it down beautifully. I didn't know they were going to break it down like this. Short and to the point. It said a scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. So when it said, will he go among the Gentiles? Let's come back to that. Come on now. Whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed, the scattered Israelites among the Gentiles? These are the other nations, and teach the Gentiles. So this right here, same word, right? Gentile and Gentile. This is talking about the actual other nations. This is talking about the Israelites in the Gentile state of mind. And they became wild olive tree. They didn't shave their beards. They put tattoos on them. You look at Jake. Oh, like I'll give you an example. Over the weekend, you had the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, and this man's tatted from head to toe, damn near. He's got tattoos all over him because he would be an heathen. But what is he? What is his actual nationality? He's an Israelite. So Jake did that. They were tatted up. They they had tribal marks. They had bald heads. Some men had long hair. That was a sign of the Gentile. Any Israelite man that had long hair is a sign of the Gentiles, what goes back to the Hellenized Israelites. That's why Paul got on them about having long hair, because they kept the long hair because they were coming out of the Greek way of life. That's why the Apostle Paul told him not to commit fornication. A woman is not supposed to have authority, not supposed to speak. So he was establishing order. He said the women cover their head. It's a shame for a man to cover their head. I'm sorry, it's a shame for men to have long hair. And when you go to the commentary, they tell you that it was the Israelites of Corinth were Hellenized, so they were eating, and they were eating pork too. Now it's not in the scriptures, but Paul probably had to get on them and say, "Look, you can't eat pork no more." And remember, he didn't put all the laws on them. And this is what's meant by context. Same exact word, Gentile, G 1672, Gentiles, G 1672. Same exact word. Right here, it's talking about the actual Gentiles based upon the context. Right here, it's talking about Israelites because they didn't know that they were Israelites. So now let's do this and come back over here. Let's do this in the NLT. The Jewish leaders were puzzled by this statement. Where is he planning to go? They asked. Is he thinking of leaving the country, which is Palestine, and going to the Jews, the Israelites, in other lands? Because they knew about the dispersed. That's why they made the statement in the King James Version. They use the word disperse. Maybe he will even teach the Greeks. That doesn't mean maybe he will even teach the other nations. That means maybe he will teach the Israelites that don't know that they're Israelites. Because ultimately he said, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So what does it mean by lost? Lost to their nationality. So now let's go to Romans. Let's go to Romans. You can actually read this whole chapter. But this is the key point. I'll start from, I'll read 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And then we're going to pull out some words. For if the first fruit be whole, what does it mean by the first fruit? What do we celebrate every year? What are we going to be celebrating in the kingdom after the Passover? The first fruit. When the springtime comes in, the warm weather comes in, that's when you have what's the first fruit. You plant the seeds, and then not even 2 months, within 2 months, I said within 2 months, really, it goes to 50 days, 7 Sabbaths, which is one, what is it? It's about 10 days shy of 2 months. And that's when you get your first fruit. You plant, whatever seed that you plant, you gather wheat, you gather corn. So the first fruit here is talking about Israelite. The first fruits are Israelites, right? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. I'm not going to pull any words, but you can pull up the word first fruit. You can pull up the word lump, like a lump of, like if you're going to make a bread, you start from a lump. You put the yeast in it, knead it with flour, make the dough, and you make bread. That's a lump. Also, a lump is if you're going to make a vessel, like a vase, um, a bowl, or whatever. But you don't eat that, of course. So this lump represents Israel, and the first fruit represents Israel. Is also holy, and if the root be holy, then so are the branches. So the branches are who? Israelites. And if some of the branches were broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree. Now, who is Paul talking to? He's talking to the Israelites that didn't believe that, know that they were Israelites, that were coming back into the fold. What made them wild? Let me try this. Now he mentioned, I believe it was Jeremiah 11. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go a different route. Okay, it doesn't say branch or plant. It says a wild ass. So the Most High was calling Israel a wild ass. Let me go to plant. Just back to the basics. Judah is a pleasant plant, as opposed to the wild plant. The ones that fell off became wild plants. Therefore shalt thou plant pleasant plants. Tender plant. Let me read this. Isaiah 65, verse 22. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are, the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. And ultimately, that's going to be the kingdom. It happened before, it's going to happen again, but forever. Okay, Jeremiah 2, verse 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine. Who is he talking to? He's talking to Israelites. What made them noble? The blessings, the laws, the statutes and commandments. You can read that in Romans chapter 9, verse 4, I believe. The adoption, the glory, the giving of the law, the covenants, the services of the Most High, the promises. As concerning the flesh, the Most High came. This is how I was talking about Israel. See, Christians can't get around Romans the 9th chapter. Now, if you go to Romans the 9th chapter, what is that? Around the 20th some odd verse. I'm not going to go to it, but it says Gentile. So it says Gentile. Yeah, those Gentiles were Israelites. They said, yet I had planted thee a noble vine, holy and right, and a right seed. He gave us the blessings. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So who is he talking to? He's talking to the Israelites going off. The Israelites that were labeled as being Gentiles and scattered, getting tattoos on them, eating pork, dressing, not wearing the fringes, not keeping the high holy days, tribal marks on them, crazy ass haircuts, men with long hair. They were committing fornication because they had no laws, they had no order. So that, what did that make them? A wild olive plant, a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me. So when we come over here, because where did he go to? He went to Jeremiah. He should have went to this one. This one kind of hits it, but the one that he went to was good. Jeremiah 11, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is a good one. Jeremiah 11, verse 16. Yahweh call thy name a green olive tree, fair and a and a goodly fruit. Give me a second. Okay, where am I? Yahweh call thy name a green olive tree, which we read about that in Jeremiah 2. Fair and good and goodly fruit. If the first fruit be holy, then also the branches, right? Which the with the noise of a great tumult, he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. Yeah, through, like, a perfect example is when the Assyrians took the northern kingdom. Now the Assyrians been trying to take the southern kingdom for long before the northern kingdom. The Assyrians wanted both kingdoms, but actually the Babylonians took down the southern kingdom, which they were Assyrians any damn way. Let me read the 17th verse. For Yahweh of hosts that planted thee have pronounced evil against thee, because you became wild olive. You wasn't keeping the laws. Deuteronomy the 28th chapter. For the evil of the house of Israel, so we know it's talking about Israel, and of the house of Judah, because people say, oh, well, Romans 11 chapter, the wild olive tree is talking about the northern kingdom. No, it's not talking about the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom was on the other side of the world. They never came back. It's talking about the southern kingdom. And where did they become wild? Go back to the history of the Maccabees, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger and offering incense unto Baal. They were worshiping demons. So this is not a hard thing. 17 verse. And if some of the branches be broken off, and when did that happen? We just read that in Jeremiah. And thou being a what? A wild olive tree. The wild olive tree, what nationality would the wild olive tree be? The Israelites. Just like you see today, you go out and you see a Jake men that dress up like women. You see two Jake men holding hands. You see two Jake women holding hands. They're in the world. They're following, and they got that from Esau, man. You got Jake committing adultery. You had a song, a cut called OPP. That's not going to happen in the kingdom. And Jake was, they were vibing to that. The so-called hip hop world, it's filled with drugs, it's filled with adultery, it's filled with Moism. And ultimately, you have to, all of them Jakes that you see, in the hip hop world that made it to the top, trust me, they were bent over and they bowed down and they had to go through the ritual. That's why when you see these different videos, it shows you and this goes straight over Jake's head. This goes straight over Jake's head. Remember they had, what is this guy? Something Scott. I don't keep up with hip hop. Out there in Texas, I believe, and a bunch of people got stamped on, trampeded on. Travis Scott, and if you watch the video, he's performing, and you hear people screaming, "Stop it! Somebody! Oh my goodness, stop it!" And he's looking, I believe, to his right, like with his hands, like, what do I do? What's going on? And then I guess they would like, oh, keep performing, because it was a what do you call that? What do you call it? A sacrifice. It's offering a love sacrifice, or a sacrifice by fire. But now, if you watch certain of the videos, one video that I saw where it was an actual demon that kind of looked like a horse, but the head had horns, and you can see the horse, a black horse, galloping over the people. Now I don't know if somebody photoshopped that in there or that actually happened, but it happens real quick. When all that stuff was happening, man, and people were screaming, you saw like a half horse, like a bull's head with a horse's body galloping over the people. Your blood sacrifice. So that's what they were saying. This was definitely a blood sacrifice. And Travis Scott reacted to it by, what do we do? Keep going. So all your entertainers that are up on top, that you always see on TV, you see them at the Grammys, at the Oscars, at the on TMZ, and their names are out there, their household name, and among Jake actors and hip hop community, or the NBA, these Jakes on the top, they gotta do what they gotta do. So what would they be considered? They would be considered wild olive branches. All right, they would be a degenerate plant. It says wild ass, used to the wilderness. You look at LeBron James, he did that. He would do the ritual. He would have that chalk in his hand. Then he would throw up the two signs. We call them the OK signs. And then he got tattoos all over him. So he had to be initiated, man. This guy, Ye, he just admitted that, oh yeah, they sacrificed my mother. They sacrificed this guy, that guy, this guy's mother. They got a club called the 27 Club. You can be a top musician at 20, but you're a part of the 27 Club. When you turn 20, you're going to live life. You're going to live life to the fullest. You're going to be multi-millionaires, maybe worth a couple $100 million. But when you hit 27, you're going to mysteriously die or commit suicide. That's called the 27 Club. So that's what Jake does. They're willing to sell their soul. Part of selling your soul is becoming a wild olive tree, becoming a degenerate plant. See, Christianity is not going to tell you this, man, because they don't know anything. Christians are on a low level. When Christians deal with us, they're pretty much romper room level to us being professors of the top universities. We're way over them. It says, and if some of the branches be broken off, and they were broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, And the ones that were broken off was Judah because they didn't accept the Messiah. And thou being a wild olive tree, Israelites in a Gentile state of mind, what grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. So if you put a different tree, like a cherry tree and an olive tree, you're not going to have olives. There's a whole thing on grafting. You can graft a branch from an apple tree to another apple tree, a branch, a root. The root and the branches are all Israelites. Some of them noted the Israelites, kept the law, statutes, and commandments, and accepted the Messiah. A lot of those scribes and Pharisees accepted the Messiah. A lot of those priests accepted the Messiah. I believe that's in Acts 6 chapter. It said the priests. There was a big controversy in Acts the 15th chapter. But I think it said there were Sadducees that believe. I'm not going to go to it, but they said, well, they can't enter into heaven. They can't come to the Passover unless they get circumcised. So it was a big mess about it because these guys kept the law. So Paul had to Paul and I believe that was Barnabas at that time. Paul and Barnabas, they had to go and talk to the heads over them, and then they came to the conclusion that they can go and they don't have to be circumcised because they're getting into the truth. That's why the Apostle Paul said what he said about concerning, let no man judge you concerning high holy days, Sabbath, which are a former thing to come, which something is to come, which is the kingdom. That proves right there the statement that Paul made that we're going to be keeping the laws in the kingdom. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. No, it says, well, because of unbelief, they were broken off. These were the Israelites that didn't accept the Messiah. And thou standeth by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. For if the Most High spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also shall spare not thee. So now if somebody wants to come into the GMS and they got as a man with long dreadlocks, the first thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to cut them locks. You're gonna have to cut them locks down. Now the tattoos, you can't get rid of them. I mean, if you have enough money, you can get them removed. And then when you come to the camp, you're gonna have to wear a garment with fringes on it. And you're gonna have to know the scriptures. And if you were eating pork, stop eating pork. You know the story. It says, for if the Most High spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. The part in Deuteronomy 32 when it says, a foolish nation shall I anger you. That foolish nation were the Israelites that became the wild olive trees. This is not hard. Let me read the 22nd verse. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of the Most High on them would fell severity, but toward thee goodness is if thou continue in his goodness, keep with this truth, otherwise thou also shall be cut off. But then ultimately, let's jump down to, you know what? And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, if they believe in the Messiah, shall be grafted in, for the Most High is able to graft them in again. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, you made yourself wild, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, meaning the Israelites that grew up as Israelites, keeping all the laws, be grafted into their own olive tree? Because if you go to, Acts chapter 13, there was a big thing over the Gentiles and the Jews. And the Apostle Paul was trying to tell them that, look, these people are Israelites too. Yeah, but they got long hair, they got tattoos on them, they got tribal marks, they're eating pork, they're committing adultery. Yeah, but the Most High is bringing them back. 25th verse, for I would not, brethren, that ye should, now when he says brethren, he's talking about men, women, and children, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part has happened to Israel. What happened to Israel? How did Israel be? Who are the blind ones of Israel? The ones that were the wild olive tree. Until the fullness of the Gentiles become. What does it mean by until the fullness of the Gentiles become in? The fullness of the Gentiles become in are referring to the Israelites in a Gentile state of mind coming back into the fold, being a wild olive branch being grafted back in. And so all Israel be saved. Why do he say so all Israel be saved? Because the Gentile-minded Israelites that come into this truth, and the Jews, if they come under Yahushua, and the ones that don't wake up to it, they're going to die and they're going to come back anyway. This is no big deal. There shall be, 26th verse, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, which is Yahushua, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. He's going to make us perfect. That's by the way, that goes into the covenant argument. It says there shall come out of Zion the deliverer. That's his second advent, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. How is he going to turn away ungodliness from Jacob? He's going to give us the second covenant, meaning he's going to change us. You got to be changed. So are we in the new covenant? No. Was the new covenant established when Yahushua died on the cross? Yeah. The new covenant is going to be bestowed upon us through the Spirit when the Lord comes back. That's another argument with these jakes. For this is my covenant unto them when I will take away their sins. He said he's going to bring it. He's going to bring it. Read this again. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer. Is it talking about when he first came on the scene? No. It's talking about when he comes the second time to deliver us, and shall turn away ungodliness, sin from Jacob. How is he going to do this? For this is my covenant, which is the second covenant, the new covenant, unto them, starting with the elect of Israel, when I shall take away their sins. They're not going to sin no more. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.